Here we go. The Cardinals have won 7 of 10 since the All-Star break, and things are looking up. But I've got a confession to make, and with that, let's dig in. All right, like I said, the Cardinals are looking much better and have won 7 of their last 10. Some guys are filling in and definitely pulling their weight. Pitching's looking better. Offense is coming around a little bit. And, they're looking good in the division right now. We'll check out the standings later. But, like I mentioned, I have a confession to make. If you recall, Friday night, the Cardinals were down 7-0. Adam Wainwright got the start. And I have to admit, I turned the game off. I thought, here we go. I was just bragging about Wainwright and how good he's looked. And here he comes out with that clunker that we knew was going to happen eventually. And the way we've seen the offense, I had no impression that they were going to come back. So I turned it off. I had better things to do. So I thought, only to turn it on later and find out they won 12-11, including some home run heroics by Jose Martinez, among others. So definitely I was not a BFIB at that moment. I turned it off. I had no faith, and they made me pay for it. So my bad, but definitely exciting to get that win. So like we said, they have won 7 of 10, and of these 3 losses, the first one was Daniel Ponce de Leon start. He only gave up 1 run. Now, that was the game where Robbie Ray was pitching for the Diamondbacks. He's a very good left-handed starter, so it's hard to get too down on the team for not putting more runs up. But Ponce de Leon definitely did his job. The second loss was Jack Flaherty also gave up only 1 run. That was the game where Carlos Martinez kind of fell apart in the 9th inning and gave up a couple runs. And then the third loss was Michaelis. Basically was cruising, but had that one bad inning that he gave up 3 runs. So, other than those 3 losses, they've been pretty good, other than the 11 runs they allowed in the 12-11 win. But the starting pitching was very good in all 3 of those games, and really we just had a lack of offense. That was the trend in those losses. And all year long has been the trend. Is that the offense isn't doing enough. But, it's not like we got blown out in those games, and, it's not like our pitching just looked awful, and, they definitely did their part to keep us in the game. So that is good to see in those 3 losses. All right. A guy who has kind of really, over the season, has been a disappointment, but has had some ups and downs, but really since the All-Star break, or actually since in the month of July, has been up and down. Paul Goldschmidt. So very slow lately, but if you recall, we talked about he was really heating up in the month of July. I mean, he was just on fire. So we're going to look at his stats in the month of July. So since the All-Star break, which was July 12th through now, he has had 37 plate appearances and only 6 hits, 1 double, 2 home runs, 7 RBI, 3 walks to 10 strikeouts. So his slash line is 188 average, 250 on base, 406 slugging for an OPS of 656. Those are very poor numbers. And his batting average on balls in play is 190. Again, not great. So just really pedestrian, if not worse, numbers since the All-Star break. But before the All-Star break in the month of July, again, these are both small sample sizes, but 25 plate appearances, 8 hits, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, 6 RBI, 3 walks, and 7 strikeouts. So actually pretty similar numbers, but in, a third less plate appearances. So that slash line looks like 364 average, 440 on base, 727 slugging for a 1.167 OPS. So very, very good numbers. Oh, and his batting average on ball in plays was 462 compared to 190 since. So really just this hot and cold streak there. Hot before the All-Star break, cold after. So again, small sample size. It's hard to say what to take away from that, but definitely I know he seemed to want to take a break during the All-Star break. I think he said he was going to go to the beach, swim, and take his mind off and come back. Well, that obviously didn't work, so he needs to stick around in this St. Louis heat and humidity for a while. All right, another name we've been hearing a lot about is Tommy Edman. Now, he's been a regular starter since pretty much June 26th. He's had a couple days off in there. He kind of got on a low streak, and they gave him a couple days rest. But he has pretty much been their everyday starter at third or second and has had 67 plate appearances, 16 hits, 2 doubles, 1 triple, 3 home runs, 11 RBI, 2 walks to 13 strikeouts for a slash line of 246, 269, 446 slugging for a 715 OPS. Now, some of that sounds really good, and some of it is not that great. 246 average is just okay. 269 on base is not good. He should be, over 300. And his slugging is all right, but not great. You would think, I think we all have this in our head that he's been hitting home runs and triples and doing all this great stuff, and he has, but his numbers have actually been not all that spectacular. He's had some of his best games where he was the player of the game or whatever with a walk-off. He was 1 for 5 that game, and he's had some offers and whatever. So he's been striking out a lot. We said in those 67 plate appearances, he had 13 strikeouts compared to almost the same number of plate appearances for Goldschmidt in the month of July, and he's got 17 strikeouts. So Goldschmidt's got a few more, but he's infamous for his high strikeout totals, and Edman's not far behind him. Now, he's a rookie. He's still figuring things out. He's making adjustments, and that has been one of the good things about him is that he does seem to make adjustments mid-game. And as we've seen, he tends to do better late in the game in clutch situations, and some of that comes from making those adjustments. So I didn't write down all these stats, but I looked up. Baseball Reference has a section of clutch stats, and his clutch stats section is very impressive. Late and close games, games where we're within 1 run, games where we're behind, all those categories, he's got much, much higher numbers than he does in regular situations. So I know a lot of you don't necessarily buy into the whole clutch scenario. I do personally believe in clutch, and I believe in clutch performance and clutch statistics, and Edman seems to be a clutch player. Again, he hasn't been playing very long. It's still too small of a sample size to really know just how clutch he is, but he's had some walk-off hits, some pinch hit home runs. Like I said, I could go through all these clutch hit stats, but go ahead and check out Baseball Reference and look up Tommy Edman's clutch stats, and I think you'll be impressed. All right, another thing that has come up recently, I've seen in the news, some people kind of complaining about the Luke Voit trade. So as he does better and better in New York with the Yankees, it kind of makes that trade seem like more and more of a mistake. But I don't necessarily think that's the case. If you recall, the 2 pieces we got out of that was the lefty reliever Chasen Shreve and the righty reliever Giovanni Gallegos. Now, at the time, the name that most people were paying attention to in that was Shreve. We needed a lefty reliever, and we traded Luke Voit to get one, and Gallegos was almost a throw-in. Now, he was, not a terrible pitcher, but the guy we were really going after was Shreve. Now, since then, in 2019, early in the season, March 22nd, I believe, Shreve was DFA, designated for assignment. He cleared waivers. He was placed on the AAA Memphis roster, and most people forgot about him. In fact, I had to look all that up because I didn't even know if he was still with the Cardinals. I thought he was released or whatever, and I guess he was DFA'd, but he was called up again on July 11th and is currently on the 40-man roster, on the current roster, the Cardinals roster. So I forgot that completely. Now, he's only made 2 appearances since July 11th. He's pitched 1 2/3 innings, no hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, no runs. So, he hasn't pitched much, but in his outings, he's been effective. He's done his job, not giving up any runs. So, but definitely Shreve would be a disappointment as far as that trade goes. Anytime you designate a guy and, you wait until mid-July to call him up, that trade didn't work out for you, right? But on the other hand, Giovanni Gallegos has been one of our best, if not the best, reliever on the team. So in 2019, he's had 40 games pitched, 46 and 2/3 innings, a 2.31 ERA, a 0.77 whip, 67 strikeouts to 8 walks. So just crazy good numbers. You couldn't ask for any more from Gallegos. Now, he's looked so good, you think, well, what the heck? Why did the Yankees give this guy up? Now, he only pitched 4 games for the Yankees last year, 10 innings, 5 runs, 10 hits. So not very good numbers in that limited number of appearances with them. Now, for their AAA affiliate, Scranton, he had a 3.9 ERA with a 1.30 whip. So not terrible numbers, but not great either. So definitely, he was known as a hard thrower, and was a guy that was, and eventually did get called up, but was definitely something. The Cardinals saw something in him that they thought could be a valuable piece, and it turns out they were right. So whoever scouted that kid and made that call for the Cardinals, whether that was Mozeliak or Gersh or their scouting department, kudos to them, because it was definitely a good move. Now, so really, in my opinion, at this point, take out last year and look at what they're doing now. You got Gallegos for Voit. You throw Shreve out of it. And Voigt's having a good year. 272 average, 874 OPS, 14 doubles, a triple, 18 home runs, and 52 RBI. So the Yankees are very happy to have Luke Voit in their lineup every day playing first. So he did just get hit in the face the other day and had to come out of the game. I think he's okay. But yeah, I mean, overall, the Yankees got what they needed, and the Cardinals got a very effective right-handed reliever. Now, you could argue that we wouldn't have had to go after Goldschmidt if we had Luke Voit playing first base for us every day. And if you just look at this year's stats, Voit is obviously doing, better than Goldschmidt. But, I don't think anybody really expected that. As soon as you said, oh, we could get Goldschmidt, bam, get that deal done. You do that. Though I did have some misgivings on the show here, which we discussed back before the trade and immediately after. So we'll see how that pans out. But nobody really thinks over the next 5 years that Voit is going to play better than Goldschmidt. Most people don't. Hopefully, Yankees fans probably do. But anyway, so the point is, Gallegos has been much better than I think we thought we were going to get when we traded Voit, and nobody would at this point want to give him up out of the bullpen. So maybe it was a better trade than some people are giving the Cardinals credit for. All right, let's take a quick look at the standings. As of right now, when I started recording this, the Brewers were still playing. Let me see if I can check that score real quick. Yeah, the Brewers are still playing, and they are still tied. So as of right now, the Cubs are in first place with a 54-45 record. The Cardinals are in second place, 2.5 games back with a 51-47 record. And the Brewers statistically are behind the Cardinals, but with the same 2.5 games back. So they have a 52-48 record. So one more win, but one more loss. So that gives them the same number of games behind, but the Cardinals are above them in the standings technically. Now they're playing right now. If they win, they'll jump over us by half a game. And if they lose, they'll jump behind us by half a game. And the Pirates are still in fourth place, but are 7.5 back with a 46-52 record. If you recall, before that series after the All-Star break where we were playing the Pirates, we said, if this doesn't go right, the Pirates could actually jump the Cardinals in the standings. And that did not turn out to be the case. And they have been losing several games over the last week and a half or so. And so now there's a 5-game spread between the Cardinals and the Pirates. As opposed to them jumping us, they fell way back. And the Reds are at the bottom of the division with a 44-53 record, which puts them 9 games behind the Cubs. So it's still, the standings are still stacked up the same, roughly. Cards and Brewers we'll see what happens later on tonight. But everybody kind of, when we said the Cardinals weren't playing good, neither were the Cubs and Brewers, and the Cardinals have been playing better, and so have the Cubs and Brewers. So the good news is we've kept up with them. The bad news is we haven't been able to make up a lot of ground. But I'll take it at this point. We've separated ourselves a little bit from the Pirates and Reds, which were making me nervous. I thought they had a good shot of jumping over us and the Brewers. So it looks like for now, that's not going to be the case. It's still a 3-team race, but you never know. So good for the Cardinals, good for the fans. You know, it's been ridiculously hot out there. I'm kind of glad that they've been on the road, just because, you know, these home games in St. Louis have been brutal. They've been brutal on the road too. I think Adam Wainwright, when he struggled in that 12-11 game, I think a lot of that was on the heat. He just wore down fast. He said the next day that it really caught him off guard. He didn't expect the heat to affect him like that. And I think some of the relievers too were affected the same way. And it's hard to blame them, except you could say that for the other team. But yeah, when it's this hot and humid, your body just doesn't respond the way it normally does, and you wear out quick and your muscle memory just goes, and it's tough. So we're going to get a cool down here really quick, at least in St. Louis, and hopefully the Cards can keep up this hot streak that they are on. So that's all I've got. I appreciate you listening, whether it's in the car, at work, at home, whatever. Drive safe, get plenty of work done, be productive. But thanks for downloading and subscribing. So until next time, I'm Jared, and this is the BFIBs Almanac.